The Greedy King. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a king named Raja Vishal. He ruled over a vast and prosperous kingdom. His palace was filled with gold, silver, and precious jewels. The people of his kingdom admired him for his wisdom, but there was one thing that tarnished his character: his greed. No matter how much wealth Raja Vishal had, it was never enough. He always wanted more. His greed grew with every passing day, and he began to tax his people heavily. Farmers, merchants, and even the poor were forced to give large portions of their earnings to the king. The people of the kingdom became unhappy, but they feared speaking out against the king. One day, a traveling sage visited the kingdom. He was known far and wide for his wisdom and magical powers. The king, intrigued by the stories of the sage's abilities, summoned him to the palace. "Welcome, O wise sage," said Raja Vishal, sitting on his grand throne. "I have heard much about your wisdom and power. Tell me, can you grant me more wealth?" The sage looked at the king, seeing the greed in his eyes. He smiled and replied, "Your Majesty, I can indeed help you. But beware, for greed is a dangerous thing. Are you sure you wish for more wealth?" Without hesitation, Raja Vishal nodded. "I want more gold, more jewels, more of everything. No one should have more than me." The sage sighed and pulled out a small bottle filled with a mysterious liquid. "Drink this potion, Your Majesty," he said. "It will grant you the power to turn anything you touch into gold. But remember, use this power wisely." The king's eyes sparkled with excitement. He quickly drank the potion and felt a surge of energy within him. "I will be the richest king in the world," he exclaimed. The next morning, the king decided to test his new power. He touched the table in his royal chamber, and instantly, it turned to solid gold. His joy knew no bounds. He rushed around the palace, turning everything he touched into gold: the furniture, the walls, the floors. The palace soon glittered like a golden fortress. But the king's greed did not stop there. He went out into the kingdom, touching trees, rocks, and even the crops in the fields, turning them all into gold. The people of the kingdom watched in awe and fear as everything around them changed. At first, the king was overjoyed. But soon, he began to realize the consequences of his actions. He grew hungry, but when he touched his food, it turned to gold. His thirst increased, but every drop of water he touched became solid gold. Days passed, and the once joyful king became desperate. He could no longer eat or drink. His servants, who feared touching anything in the palace, left him alone. Even the people of his kingdom began to suffer. The fields, which once grew bountiful crops, were now barren, covered in useless gold. The livestock that grazed the land could no longer find food. Hunger and despair spread throughout the kingdom. Realizing the gravity of his mistake, the king sat on his golden throne, weakened and helpless. "What have I done?" he cried. "I have destroyed my kingdom and myself. My greed has brought nothing but misery." In his moment of despair, the sage appeared before him once more. "Have you learned your lesson, Raja Vishal?" the sage asked softly. The king, with tears in his eyes, nodded. "Yes, wise sage. I was blind with greed. I thought more wealth would bring me happiness, but it has only brought ruin. Please, Take away this curse. I no longer wish for gold. The sage, seeing the king's genuine regret, waved his hand, and the curse was lifted. The golden objects around the kingdom returned to their original forms. The trees grew green again, the fields flourished, and the livestock roamed freely. The people of the kingdom rejoiced as life returned to normal. Raja Vishal, now humbled by his experience, ruled his kingdom with kindness and wisdom. He reduced the taxes, helped the poor, and ensured that no one in his kingdom went hungry. The people began to love their king again, not for his wealth, but for his generosity and fairness. Years passed, and Raja Vishal became known not as the greedy king, but as the wise and kind-hearted ruler. He realized that true happiness did not come from wealth, but from the love and respect of his people. And so, the kingdom of Raja Vishal flourished, not because of gold, but because of the goodness that came from the heart of its king. Greed can lead to destruction, but contentment and generosity bring true happiness.